Hi everyone. So the culture I decided to do my project on is Barista Culture, and we live in a state that loves their coffee. We wake up, we want coffee. When we're about to head into a long shift at work, we want coffee. When we're tired, we want coffee. When we're not tired, we want coffee. And just through my presentation today, I hope to give you guys a little bit more insight into what it's like being a barista and, being behind the scenes of making that coffee. I, for one, have been working as a barista for the last 2 to 3 years. I currently work at an Avenue espresso stand, and we value making quality drinks while working efficiently to honor our customers' time. Um, and culture is defined as learned patterns of perception, values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors shared by a group of people. And barista culture is just that, in the way that we interact with each other and with our customers. This might sound silly, but customer service talk is definitely a real thing in barista culture. When we are speaking with our customers, our tone of voice absolutely does go up a couple of notches, not because we're trying to be fake, but just trying to bring a little bit of energy into our interactions and wake people up and energize them for the day, just like the product that we're trying to sell. We strive to be problem solvers. So in moments of conflict with our customers, for example, if they came back and they were complaining about their drink and they didn't like it for some reason, instead of trying to be right in that moment, we just apologize and we make their drink for free, and we send them on their way just to ensure that they're happy with their drink and that they would come back and see us again. And then barista culture is definitely a collectivist culture. Just, we place higher importance on group priority and group goals and just working together as a team. Like it's one of the biggest values that we have at Avenue, at least, and at any other coffee stand I've ever worked at. It's the number one thing that they look for on the resume, and they want to hear that you want to and are able to work with others in a small confined space and in high levels of stress. And then there are a lot of cultures within the barista culture. Just from my stand, we have different racial backgrounds, we have different coffee backgrounds, we have different religious backgrounds. A couple of the girls that work with me, they came from working at Cutter's Point, and just talking with them, they have a lot different of standards and a lot of different ways that they made coffee there that they picked up and brought over to Avenue. And a lot of people always think that coffee is made the same way and the standards are kind of the same across the board, which is not the case. Like a lot of places have different equipment, different views on what is the most efficient, different types of flavors, which definitely does play into how fast you can make drinks, how you make them. Like powdered drinks are made differently than syrup drinks. So it all just depends on the space as well and how many people are working at the same time. So it's all completely different. Standards are completely different, and that's probably the culture that I have the most conversations around with my coworkers, just because it directly affects my workflow and how I work with that person. It's definitely very interesting. That's one of the things that our manager says a lot, is that when hiring someone, they almost prefer having someone that's never worked at a coffee stand before, because at least that we can teach them the basics from an Avenue standard rather than trying to break habits that they are bringing from other stands. But yeah, so that's like probably the most commonly talked about culture at my stand. But there are other religious backgrounds and racial backgrounds that we also interact with every single day, especially in with our customers. But we definitely have some with our baristas as well. So culture goes back as far as the 16th century Turkey, and coffee houses were a place where a lot of people came and they met, just for social events, to meet up with friends, and also for political events and commercial activity. The word barista is actually Italian, and it means a male or female bartender who typically works behind a counter serving hot drinks such as espresso, cold beverages, and snacks. And fast forward to today, coffee stands are, all over the state, all over um, the nation. I know that there aren't as many down south in Texas, for example, but there's definitely a lot of them in the Pacific Northwest, and people love going to coffee stands, especially during this global pandemic that we're in. Drive-throughs are definitely a must-have, and is definitely a place that people go to a lot, especially, it's easy to drive through and get what they need and just go home. The first time I made a cup of coffee with beans was at the age of 18, and that was only because before I worked at my first coffee job, I preferred energy drinks, but that doesn't mean I wasn't exposed to it. My parents had a cup of coffee every single day before they went to work, so I was exposed to it, and I saw it. I just had never actually made it with an actual machine and like grinded the beans and all that stuff. But so what do coffee beans have to do with you guys, with us, with everyone? This is my artifact. Forgot to show you guys, but it's just some coffee beans that I picked up from work. We sell Batdorf and Bronson beans, but coffee beans are at the center of every single drink, every single stand, and it's coffee, caffeine. It's very desirable, especially in our society. It's all over social media, in movies, on media platforms, you name it, it's everywhere. It's things are starting to pick up a lot too as well. Like, for example, like Dutch Bros, they're a coffee stand that is open up really, really late now, that you can go and get caffeine at any time in the day, whereas a couple years ago we might not have had that opportunity to go and get coffee at 11 p.m. at night. So it's definitely grown. The coffee business has exploded in our society, and we definitely prioritize it a lot, especially here in Washington. So coffee beans, what's it for? So coffee beans, it's the foundation of every caffeinated drink, besides energy drinks, obviously, but it's where we extract the caffeine from. So we put this into a machine and it grinds it into smaller pieces that we are able to put into another machine that uses heat and water and extracts the caffeine into little shot glasses that we pour into drinks, and then we'll mix other like flavors like sugar, water, whatever it is that person wants, sometimes milk, just to maybe take the edge off a little bit, because coffee shots are pretty bitter, but some people prefer to drink it black, but that's normally something that you have to build up a tolerance for. So there are a ton of jargon language that we use on a daily basis at the stand, and I'm just going to name a couple for you guys and explain what it is. For example, grind, which I kind of mentioned before. We put these coffee beans into a grinder, and it grinds these beans into smaller pieces that goes into this portafilter that holds the coffee before we put it into the machine that extracts the caffeine. We tamp it, so it's like this flat, heavy metal press that we use. It's different at every stand, which I discovered this. At every single stand that I've worked at, it's been different. So some people have a machine where when you grind it out, it will tamp it for you in it before you pull out the portafilter. And then there are some stands that have like this press where you use a lever, so you're not using so much of your own body weight to try to tamp it yourself. And then at Avenue, we use the actual metal stamp thing where we have to use our own body weight to press it down. And then pulling shots, I'm sure you guys have heard this a lot, is just basically extracting the caffeine from the grinds that we put into the machine, and that's where all the caffeine is. Dumping pucks, this is basically just taking the portafilter after you're done pulling the shots and dumping it into the trash. As soon as coffee grinds meet with heat, or water, it starts to bake. So it's really bad to leave the portafilter in there with the grinds in it. It'll ruin the machine. So we immediately dump them as soon as we're done. And then really common phrase that a lot of people probably heard is black Americano. So that just basically means it's a coffee drink where it just has water and coffee shots in it. We just call it black. So I, for one, am very proud to be a barista. It's been a job that I've wanted to do for as long as I can remember, and I hope that people perceive Barista Culture as a group of people that strive for excellence, you know, that want to have a relationship with you, that we're a group of people that, you know, maybe we're your friendly neighbor that's trying to just make your day a little bit better. And we value efficiency and quality, and we want to put a smile on your face. So I hope that's how people perceive baristas and our culture, and because that's our goal. That's always been the goal of being a barista, is, you know, trying to make people's mornings or days a little bit better with the drinks that we provide. So now I'm gonna go on to demystify a couple of stereotypes about baristas for you guys. So number one, baristas have no higher education. This is absolutely not true, just because a lot of baristas I know are either currently in school, about to go to school, just got out of school, and they're paying off debt, or, you know, saving up for school, you name it. Like, that's not true at all. I'm in school right now. I know a lot of the girls at the stand are planning to go to school or go back to school, so that's not true. And then a second one would be baristas are younger adults, so they're not as old, they're not moms. That's not true as well. There are 2 moms at my stand that currently work there, and I know a ton of moms that are baristas, and it's absolutely possible to make a living out of a barista salary. And I feel like sometimes people underestimate how much we make, and so we have a lot of moms, we have a lot of dads even. It's a little bit more rare to see a male barista, but we definitely have a ton of them. And then the last stereotype would be being a barista is not a serious profession. So this is something that I hear a lot. It's always been like, oh, you want to be a barista, it's a filler job, you know, it's not something that you want to do for the rest of your life. And I also don't believe that's true, because, you know, a lot of people start out as a barista and then they go on to be a manager, and then they're happy with that and they do that for the rest of their lives, or they go on to be a business partner for a coffee chain, or they, you know, leave that coffee stand and they decide they want to own their own coffee chain, and so they make their own business and they run that business. And some people I've even seen, you know, leave their stand and maybe decide they want to do coffee training, so they go around and they put on workshops and they help girls get better at their technique and all this stuff. So it's absolutely not true that it can't be a serious profession. People definitely you know, start at as a barista just like a regular one, and they run with it. So just like any other career, it's definitely buildable, and definitely possible. And then in conclusion, baristas are here to help, and we want to make your day a little better, and we want to give you the best experience and service to start your day. So yeah, I hope that through this presentation I was able to give you guys a little bit more insight into the barista world and the culture that I get to step into every day as I go to work. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to respond to them. Thanks for watching.